The golden halls of the Vexeri Palace echoed with the sound of running feet. Queen Zaritha moved swiftly through the secret passage, her four arms working in perfect coordination as she sealed each door behind her. The royal crown still sat upon her head, its crystalline formations catching the dim emergency lights. "Your Majesty, we must hurry," urged Kex, her loyal AI companion, projected as a small hologram from her wrist device. "Princess Morvella's forces have breached the throne room." Zaritha's iridescent skin flickered with patterns of distress. Just hours ago, she had been the undisputed ruler of the Vexeri Empire, spanning 3 star systems. Now, betrayed by her own sister, she was running for her life. "The Royal Guard?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Eliminated or turned, Your Majesty." The coup was well planned. They reached the small hangar where her personal spacecraft waited. Unlike the Grand Royal vessels, this one was built for speed and stealth. Zaritha had always kept it ready, a precaution she had hoped never to need. "Prepare for immediate departure," she commanded, her voice steady despite the circumstances. Years of royal training had taught her to control her emotions even now. As she boarded, alarm sirens began to wail throughout the palace complex. Through the viewport, she could see troops pouring into the main hangar. Her sister would be among them, wearing a crown that was not hers to claim. "Engaging stealth systems," said Kex as the ship's engines hummed to life. "Your Majesty, I must inform you that fuel reserves are at 60%. We cannot reach any of our allied worlds without stopping." Zaritha gripped the controls. "We have no allies now. Set course for the outer reaches. We need time to think." The ship shot upward, its cloaking technology activating just as energy weapons began firing from below. They pierced the atmosphere in seconds, the beautiful blue-green world of Vexera shrinking behind them. For 3 days, they traveled in silence through uncharted space. Zaritha spent hours staring at star maps, searching for a safe haven. On the 4th day, disaster struck. "Warning. Pursuing vessel detected," announced Kex. "Royal Destroyer class." "How?" "We're cloaked." Zaritha's lower hands tightened on the armrests of her captain's chair. "They appear to be tracking your unique biosignature, Your Majesty. The crown. It contains trace elements that can be detected at long range." With a pained expression, Zaritha removed the ancient crown that had been worn by 100 queens before her. She placed it in a small storage compartment. "Evasive maneuvers," she ordered, taking manual control of the ship. What followed was a desperate chase through an asteroid field. Zaritha's smaller vessel had the advantage of agility, but the pursuing ship's weapons were powerful. A glancing hit damaged the propulsion system. "System failure imminent," reported Kex. "Nearest inhabitable planet is designated as Earth. Primitive technology. No official contact with galactic community." "Perfect," said Zaritha grimly. "They won't look for me there." The damaged ship limped toward the blue planet, entering its atmosphere with alarming speed. Fire engulfed the hull as Zaritha fought to maintain control. They were heading toward a densely forested area near a large body of water. "Brace for impact," she shouted as treetops rushed up to meet them. The crash was violent but survivable. When the dust settled, Zaritha pulled herself from the wreckage, blood from a cut on her face staining her royal garments. Around her stood tall green trees unlike any on her homeworld. The air smelled strange yet somehow pleasant. As night fell on this alien world, the deposed queen of the Vexeri Empire sat alone beside her broken ship, gazing up at unfamiliar stars. For the first time since she was a child, Zaritha allowed herself to cry. Jack Pearson woke to the sound of thunder. At least, that's what he thought it was until the entire cabin shook. He sat up in bed, rubbing his eyes as his dog Rusty barked frantically at the window. "What is it, boy?" Jack mumbled, pulling on his boots and a flannel shirt. The digital clock read 3:17 a.m. Through the window, he could see an orange glow coming from the forest behind his property. Whatever had crashed there, it wasn't natural. Jack grabbed his flashlight and jacket. 5 years ago, he would have called someone immediately, but after moving to this remote cabin outside Seattle to escape his past, he had grown used to handling things on his own. "Stay, Rusty," he commanded, though the golden retriever whined in protest. The night air was cool as Jack followed the path of broken trees. His botanist's heart ached at the destruction. Some of these Douglas firs were over 100 years old. The smell hit him next, something metallic and chemical that definitely didn't belong in a Washington forest. When he reached the clearing created by the impact, Jack froze. This was no meteor. The sleek, oval shape partially buried in the ground was clearly a craft of some kind, with strange symbols etched along its damaged hull. Part of it still glowed with heat, while another section lay open, revealing an interior unlike anything he had ever seen. "Hello," he called cautiously, immediately regretting it. What if whoever, or whatever, was inside wasn't friendly? A sound of movement came from the other side of the craft. Jack slowly walked around, his flashlight beam shaking slightly in his hand. What he saw made him drop it entirely. A figure was slumped against a tree. It looked almost human, except for its iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors in the moonlight. And it had 4 arms. The being wore what appeared to be torn, elaborate clothing, and dark liquid. Blood trickled from a wound on its face. Jack's first instinct was to run. But when the creature looked up at him with eyes that somehow expressed both fear and dignity, something changed inside him. Those eyes were intelligent, conscious, person-like. Are you okay?" he asked, knowing it couldn't understand him, but unable to think of anything else to say. To his shock, the being raised one of its hands and tapped at a device on its wrist. A small holographic projection appeared. "Processing language. Adapting translator matrix," came a computerized voice. After a few seconds, it spoke again. "The Queen is injured but stable. Are you a hostile?" "Queen?" Jack repeated, bewildered. "No, I'm not hostile. I live nearby. I want to help." The being spoke in a musical language full of clicks and trills. The device translated. "I am Zaritha of the Vexari. My ship is damaged. I cannot return." Jack knelt down, still keeping some distance. "I'm Jack Pearson. You're on Earth. Is there someone I should contact for you?" The Queen's colors darkened. "No, those who seek me wish me dead." Dawn was approaching, and Jack made a quick decision. "You can't stay here. Someone else will find your ship soon. Can you walk? I have a cabin nearby." After some hesitation, Zaritha nodded and attempted to stand, but stumbled. Jack cautiously offered his support, surprised by how light she was despite being slightly taller than him. Her skin felt warm and slightly textured, like fine leather. As they slowly made their way through the forest, Zaritha looked back at her ship. "The cloaking system should still function. Your people will not find it easily." Sure enough, when Jack glanced back, the ship seemed to shimmer and fade into its surroundings, becoming nearly invisible. By the time they reached his cabin, the first rays of sunlight were filtering through the trees. Rusty greeted them with curious sniffs and cautious wags. "What is this creature?" asked Zaritha, her translator converting her words. "This is a dog. His name is Rusty. He's friendly," Jack explained, realizing how surreal this all was. He was explaining dogs to an alien queen with 4 arms. As he helped her inside, Jack wondered what exactly he had gotten himself into, and why he wasn't more afraid. The first week was awkward for both of them. Jack cleared out his small guest room, making space for Zaritha, who needed little but appreciated the privacy. She spent most of her time studying English through Kex's translation programs, while Jack hovered nervously, unsure of alien customs or needs. "Do you eat food? Our food, I mean," he asked one morning, gesturing to his breakfast of scrambled eggs. Zaritha approached the table cautiously. "My species can process most carbon-based organic matter. We prefer plant materials." Jack smiled. "Well, you're in luck. I'm a botanist. Plants are kind of my thing. That afternoon, Jack took her to his greenhouse behind the cabin. The simple structure was filled with rows of plants, some common, others rare specimens he studied professionally. Zaritha's reaction was immediate and profound. Her skin rippled with patterns of blue and gold that Jack later learned indicated excitement. "These are primitive compared to Vexeri botanical gardens," she said, "but they have their own beauty." She reached out with her lower right hand and gently touched a fern. To Jack's amazement, the plant seemed to bend toward her. "How did you do that?" he asked. "My people evolved alongside the flora of our world. We share certain cellular frequencies." She demonstrated by hovering her hand over a drooping orchid, which gradually straightened. "Your plants respond weakly, but they can sense me." From that day forward, they found common ground in the greenhouse. Jack shared his knowledge of earth botany, while Zaritha explained alien concepts of plant communication. She helped his struggling specimens thrive with techniques no human scientist had discovered. In the evenings, Jack introduced her to human culture through books and music. He played his old records, everything from classical to rock, and watched as she analyzed each style with intense curiosity. "Your species creates art from sound vibrations," she observed. "On Vexara, our music includes color patterns and scent compositions." "That sounds amazing," Jack said, trying to imagine it. "Perhaps I can recreate a simple piece for you someday," she replied, a hint of homesickness in her voice. One night, after dinner, Zaritha asked about human social structures. Jack did his best to explain governments, families, and relationships, realizing how complicated they must seem to an outsider. "And you live alone by choice?" she questioned. "No subjects? No clan members?" Jack laughed. "I'm not royalty. Just an ordinary guy who needed some space after my marriage ended." Marriage. The translator struggled with the concept. "It's a formal partnership between people who love each other. Mine didn't work out." Zaritha was quiet for a moment. "In my world, the queen's marriages are political alliances. Love is not considered." "That sounds lonely," Jack said softly. "It was," she agreed. As weeks passed, Jack helped design disguises so Zaritha could occasionally venture beyond the cabin. With her lower arms bound carefully to her torso, wearing sunglasses and scarves to cover her distinctive features, she could pass as human from a distance. Their first trip to town was nerve-wracking. Jack took her to a small bookstore during off-hours when few customers would be present. Zaritha was overwhelmed by the variety of books, running her fingers along the spines with childlike wonder. "So much knowledge freely available," she whispered. "On Vexera, information is restricted by caste." On the drive home, with a stack of books on Earth history and culture beside her, Zaritha gazed at the passing landscape. "Your world has much freedom," she observed. "Even with its flaws, people can choose their path." Jack glanced at her, seeing not an alien queen but a person in exile, discovering new possibilities. "Maybe that's what you needed all along," he suggested. "A chance to choose." That night, in her room, Zaritha removed her royal insignia from where she had kept it hidden. For the first time, she considered that losing her throne might not be entirely a tragedy. 3 months after the crash, the seasons had changed. Fall painted the forest around Jack's cabin in vibrant reds and golds. On a crisp October morning, Jack found Zaritha sitting on the porch steps, her disguise set aside as no visitors were expected. "The trees on your world die so beautifully," she said, watching leaves spiral down in the breeze. "On Vexera, plant life fades to gray when dormant. Nothing like this explosion of color." Jack sat beside her, careful to leave appropriate space between them. "It's my favorite season. Everything preparing for rest." She turned to him, her skin displaying a pattern he had come to recognize as thoughtfulness. Ripples of deep purple with flecks of silver. "You seem at peace today." "I am," he realized, for the first time in years. That evening, as rain tapped against the windows, they sat by the fireplace drinking hot tea. Jack had grown comfortable with Zaritha's presence, no longer startled by her four-armed gestures or the way her skin changed colors with her emotions. "May I ask about your life before?" he ventured. "What was it like being queen?" Zaritha set down her cup. "Imagine living in a crystal cage. Beautiful, admired, but never touched." Her upper hands made a graceful motion. "From birth, I was trained to rule. My first marriage ceremony happened when I was equivalent to your 16 years old, to a provincial lord 3 times my age." "That's awful," Jack said. "It was politics. I never shared living quarters with any of my 7 consorts. They were symbols of alliance, nothing more." She looked into the fire. "When I proposed reforms to give more rights to the lower castes, the Royal Council turned against me. My sisters saw opportunity in their discontent." "Is that why she took your throne?" "Partly. Morvilla always envied my position, but I believe she truly thinks I was weakening our empire with my ideas." Zaritha's colors darkened. Perhaps she was right. Jack shook his head. "Wanting people to be free doesn't make you weak." Later, when the conversation turned to Jack's past, he found himself sharing things he had told no one. About his failed marriage to a woman who had wanted city life while he craved nature. About his decision to retreat to this isolated cabin after their divorce. "I failed at the most basic human relationship," he admitted. "Sometimes I think I understand plants better than people." Zaritha watched him with those strange, multifaceted eyes that somehow expressed compassion. "On my world, you would be considered wise for recognizing your nature rather than forcing yourself into an unsuitable pattern." Something shifted between them that night, a recognition, perhaps, of kindred spirits despite their different origins. The following weeks brought them closer. Jack taught Zaritha to cook simple human meals, laughing as her forearms efficiently chopped vegetables at remarkable speed. She showed him meditation techniques from her world that helped plants grow stronger. One day, while working together in a greenhouse, their hands touched as they reached for the same tool. Jack felt a strange tingling sensation, and Zaritha's skin flashed briefly with bright blue patterns. "I'm sorry," he said, pulling back quickly. "There is no need to apologize," she replied softly. The sensation was pleasant. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about impossible things, about the way Zaritha's laugh made him feel, about the grace of her movements, about how the most meaningful connection he'd formed in years was with someone from another world. In her room, Zaritha was equally restless. On her small console, Kex displayed the repair status of her ship. "The navigation system is now functional, Your Majesty," the AI reported. "We could leave within the week if desired." Zaritha touched the screen, closing the report. "Not yet, Kex. May I inquire as to the reason for delay?" Zaritha moved to the window, looking out at the star-filled sky, so different from the constellations of her home. Yet somehow, this place was beginning to feel like home too. "I need more time," she whispered, her skin glowing with the soft pink hue that she had never displayed in her royal court, a color that, in her species, had only one meaning. The first snow of winter dusted the trees around Jack's cabin. Inside, warmth from the fireplace filled the living room, where Zaritha practiced her English writing. Her 4 hands moved simultaneously across different notebooks, her ability to multitask still amazing Jack. Their peaceful routine was shattered when Kex's hologram appeared with an urgent alert. "Your Majesty, I've intercepted Vexeri communications," the AI reported. "Your sister has dispatched hunter-seekers to this sector. They know you survived." Jack watched as Zaritha's skin paled to a ghostly white. "How long do we have?" 3 Earth days, perhaps 4. "Their ships are faster than anticipated." Jack paced the room. "Can they track you here specifically?" "If they get close enough to detect my biological signature, yes," Zaritha said. "The royal bloodline has distinctive markers. Then we need to move you somewhere else." Jack's protective instincts surprised even him. "Maybe deeper into the mountains." Their planning was interrupted by the sound of tires on gravel. Jack rushed to the window and cursed under his breath. "It's Lisa, my ex-wife." He turned to Zaritha. "Quick, you need to hide." Zaritha had barely made it to the back room when the front door opened after a brief knock. Lisa walked in, stylish in her city clothes and perfectly arranged hair. "Jack, you really should lock your door out here in the wilderness," she said, unwinding her scarf. "I tried calling, but your reception is terrible as usual." "What are you doing here, Lisa?" Jack asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "I need you to sign these final property division papers." She placed a folder on the table. "And honestly, I was concerned. You haven't been into the city in months." As Lisa talked, her eyes scanned the cabin, noticing small changes, alien changes, that Jack had grown accustomed to. The strange crystalline object on the bookshelf. The unfamiliar plants now growing in pots by the window. "You have company?" she asked, spotting 2 teacups on the coffee table. "Just a friend visiting," Jack said quickly. Lisa raised an eyebrow. "A female friend? Out here in the middle of nowhere?" Before Jack could answer, a loud beeping came from the back room. Kex's alarm system. "What's that?" Lisa asked. "Nothing, just my, research equipment," Jack stammered, moving toward the sound. But Lisa was already heading down the hallway. Since when do botanists need alarm systems? Jack managed to block her path. "Lisa, please. This isn't a good time." Their standoff was interrupted by the sound of an approaching helicopter. Through the window, Jack spotted the black vehicle with government markings circling above the forest. "Are those federal agents?" Lisa asked. "Jack, what have you gotten yourself into?" The back door opened, and Zaritha emerged, fully disguised in human clothes, her lower arms carefully hidden. "Jack, Kex has detected scanning signals. They're looking for something." Her translator was tucked away, making her English accent unusual but understandable. Lisa stared at the tall, strange-looking woman. "Who is this?" Before Jack could formulate a lie, the helicopter landed in the clearing behind his property. Men in dark suits emerged, led by a stern-faced woman with short gray hair. "That's Agent Clark," Lisa whispered. "She works for some special division of Homeland Security. My brother mentioned her once." Zaritha's skin changed color beneath her disguise, visible only at her neckline. "Jack, my ship is repaired enough for immediate departure." The reality of the situation hit Jack like a physical blow. Aliens were coming to find Zaritha. Government agents were at his door. And the woman he had grown to care for, perhaps even love, was preparing to leave Earth forever. "Go," he said to Zaritha. "Take the back trail to your ship. I'll delay them." "What about you?" For the first time, he heard fear in her voice. "I'll be fine," he lied. "Just go." As knocking began at the front door, Zaritha hesitated, then did something unexpected. She touched her hand to Jack's face, and her skin glowed with vibrant colors. "I will return for you," she said. Then she was gone, slipping into the snowy forest. Lisa stared at Jack, her expression somewhere between shock and disbelief. "Jack Pearson, you have a lot of explaining to do." "You have no idea," he replied, moving to answer the door. Agent Diane Clark was not amused by Jack's story about being alone in his cabin doing botanical research. Her team of 4 agents spread through his home, examining everything with handheld devices that beeped in different patterns. "Mr. Pearson, our sensors detected unusual energy signatures in this area," Clark said, her sharp eyes studying his face. "And now I find you with an unregistered visitor who mysteriously disappeared into the woods." Lisa sat in the corner, unusually quiet after being ordered to stay by the agents. "I told you, she's just a friend who went for a walk," Jack insisted. Clark smiled without warmth. "A walk in a snowstorm. Try again." A young agent burst into the room. "Ma'am, we've got something." Strange footprints leading into the forest, and they suddenly disappear about half a mile in. Clark nodded. "Bring him. We'll follow the trail." Two agents grabbed Jack's arms. As they dragged him toward the door, Lisa jumped up. "You can't just take him. He has rights." "National security trumps his rights," Clark replied coldly. "Stay here, Miss Pearson, or you'll be detained as well." The forest was eerily silent as they marched Jack through the snow. He could see Zaritha's unusual footprints, slightly different from human ones in their distribution of weight. They ended abruptly at a small clearing. "Where did your friend go, Mr. Pearson?" Clark demanded. Before Jack could answer, a sound like tearing fabric filled the air. The agents raised their weapons as three sleek, dark shapes appeared in the sky above them. Unlike Zaritha's elegant vessel, these ships were angular and threatening, bristling with what could only be weapons. "My God," whispered Clark. "We were tracking these, not your friend." The ships landed with precision, surrounding the humans. Hatches opened, and figures emerged, tall and four-armed like Zaritha, but clad in metallic armor. Their skin patterns pulsed with aggressive red and black. Humans, one called out in surprisingly good English. "We seek a fugitive, a Vexeri female. Surrender her to us." Clark stepped forward, gun raised. "This is Earth territory. You have no jurisdiction here." The Vexeri soldier made a gesture, and Clark's gun transformed into liquid metal, dripping through her fingers. "We have no quarrel with your kind," the alien said. "Give us the traitor queen, and we will depart." Jack felt cold dread. These were the assassins Zaritha had feared. "She's gone," he said. "Left the planet." The lead Vexari approached Jack, leaning down to examine him. "You lie. Her biological signature is all over you." Without warning, one of the soldiers grabbed Jack, lifting him easily with two arms while the other two held a scanning device to his chest. "This one knows where she hides. We will extract the information." They began dragging Jack toward their ship when the air shimmered nearby. Zaritha's vessel appeared, its cloaking deactivated. The hatch opened, and she emerged, not disguised now, but dressed in what remained of her royal attire, a small weapon in each of her four hands. "Release him," she commanded in the musical Vexeri language. The soldiers turned, dropping Jack in surprise. "The queen." "I am still your queen," she said, switching to English so the humans could understand. "And I order you to leave this planet." The lead assassin laughed. "Your sister sits on the throne now. We follow her commands, not yours." "Then you follow a usurper," Zaritha replied, her skin glowing with fierce blue light. "And you threaten a world under my protection." Jack watched in awe as Zaritha moved with unexpected speed, her combat training evident. She disabled one soldier with precise shots from her weapons, which emitted not bullets but waves of energy that paralyzed their target. Agent Clark recovered quickly from her shock, signaling her agents to surround the aliens from behind. "Federal agents, stand down." The forest erupted into chaos. Vexeri weapons fired, trees exploded, and humans scattered for cover. Jack crawled toward Zaritha, who was engaged in combat with the lead assassin, a brutal dance of four arms against four arms. "Zaritha," he shouted as his second soldier took aim at her back. Jack grabbed a fallen branch and swung it at the alien, surprising him enough for Zaritha to turn and fire. The soldier collapsed. In the moment of distraction, the lead assassin grabbed Jack, using him as a shield. "Surrender, fallen queen, or watch your human die." Zaritha froze, her weapons lowered slightly. "Let him go. This is between Vexeri." Agent Clark stepped forward from behind a tree, aiming a device that clearly wasn't standard government issue. "Actually," she said calmly, "it's between all of us now." She fired, and a net of crackling energy enveloped the assassin, forcing him to release Jack. As he fell to his knees, Zaritha rushed forward, catching Jack before he hit the ground. For a moment, the battle paused. Humans and Vexeri stared at each other across the snowy clearing, weapons ready. "Enough," Zaritha said, her voice regal despite her disheveled appearance. "There has been too much violence already." She looked at Clark, then at the remaining Vexari soldiers. Perhaps it is time we talked. Spring arrived in Washington state, bringing new growth to the forests surrounding Jack's cabin. The property looked different now, a blend of Earth architecture and alien technology. The greenhouse had tripled in size, housing plants from two worlds living together in carefully maintained harmony. 6 months had passed since the confrontation in the woods. In that time, everything had changed. At a large table on the cabin's expanded deck, a most unusual meeting was taking place. Zaritha sat at one end, her royal posture relaxed but dignified. Jack was beside her, occasionally touching her hand when she needed reassurance. Agent Clark sat opposite them, now the official liaison between Earth's governments and their first confirmed extraterrestrial visitor. "The Security Council has approved your proposal," Clark announced, sliding a tablet across the table. "You'll be granted diplomatic status and protection in exchange for control technology sharing." Zaritha's skin rippled with pleased green patterns. "I am grateful. This arrangement will benefit both our peoples." Clark nodded, still not entirely comfortable with the alien's color-changing skin, despite months of interaction. "They're particularly interested in your botanical hybridization techniques. The test crops have shown remarkable drought resistance." Jack smiled proudly. The combining of Earth plants with Vexari botanical science had been his project, a bridge between their worlds, just like their relationship. "And the communication blackout?" he asked. "Still in effect," Clark confirmed. "As far as the public knows, you're both working on classified agricultural research. Only the highest levels of government know the truth." After Clark departed in her unmarked vehicle, Jack and Zaritha walked to the edge of the property. Below them stretched the valley where a small research facility was being constructed, disguised as a private agricultural station, but designed to house more of the technology Zaritha was willing to share. "Are you sure about this?" Jack asked, watching her gaze toward the evening sky. "You could go home someday. Challenge your sister. Reclaim your throne." Zaritha's four hands moved in a graceful pattern that Jack now recognized as contentment. "For the first time in my life, I am where I choose to be, not where duty placed me." She turned to face him, her iridescent skin glowing with the soft pink hue that he now knew indicated love in her species. "On Vexara, I was surrounded by thousands, yet always alone. Here, with just you, I have found connection." Jack took one of her hands in his. Their relationship had developed slowly, carefully navigating the differences between their species. There were challenges, cultural misunderstandings, biological differences, and the occasional government official who viewed their bond with suspicion rather than hope. "Besides," Zaritha continued, "Kex has been monitoring communications from home. Things are changing there too." As if summoned, the AI's hologram appeared from her wrist device. "Indeed, Your Majesty. The latest transmissions indicate growing resistance to Princess Morvella's rule. Many speak your name with reverence, believing you will return someday." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Will you?" Zaritha looked thoughtful. "Perhaps, but not as a conqueror. As an ambassador." She gazed at him. "And not alone." The implication wasn't lost on Jack. "Are you asking me to travel to another planet with you someday? Would you consider it?" Her four eyes studied his face anxiously. Jack laughed and pulled her close. "I followed you into a firefight with alien assassins. I think I can handle meeting your family." Later that evening, as they sat on the porch watching fireflies, insects that fascinated Zaritha with their bioluminescence so similar to her own skin patterns, a message arrived from Clark. "Security Council wants to meet again. They're discussing potential controlled contact with the Vexari Empire," Jack read from the screen. Zaritha leaned against his shoulder. "They fear my people." "They're cautious," Jack corrected, "but they're listening to you. That's a start." In the distance, the lights of the town twinkled like earthbound stars. Somewhere up there, beyond the atmosphere, Vexari ships might be searching for their lost queen. Someday they might find her. But when they did, they would discover not the ruler they had rejected, but a woman who had found her true place in the universe. Whatever comes next, Zaritha said softly, we face it together. Jack nodded, watching as her skin glowed with patterns of gold and blue that matched the evening sky, a perfect blend of her world and his, just like them. In the greenhouse nearby, the first flowers were blooming on a hybrid plant they had created together, neither fully Earth nor fully Vexari, but something new and beautiful. Like the future they were building, one day at a time.